Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Welcome. We're so excited to have you as part of the Tabletop Mentorship program. This is the first time we've ever done orientation, so thanks for bearing with us as we got all the tech together. My name is Grace Kendall. My pronouns are they, them. I'm one of the organizers.
Hey, I'm Mike Belsel, pronouns he, him. I'm also one of the organizers.
I guess a little about us to kick off. We're both game designers. I'm the designer of Celestial Stories by Inkwell Games, part of the Dyson Inc. anthology. Obviously, I do this program. And I also am assistant manager for a board game cafe in Ohio.
My resume is very similar, except I'm not the designer of Celestial Stories. I help organize this program and also am an assistant manager at the same board game cafe and also design games. So, yeah. Today we're going to go through an overview of the program. We're going to bring on some past mentee and mentor to let you know what their experience was and give you some helpful advice through that. And we have the chat going, so anytime you have a question, feel free to pop it in, and we can address that. Yeah.
And we'll have a big Q&A with our previous mentor and mentee at the end. So if you are thinking of questions that you'd like to ask someone who's lived the program, because we have organized it, we haven't gotten to be mentors or mentees through it. And we do that, we'll explain a little later, so that if you have any problems in the program, you can reach out to us. But yeah, so that way you'll have some people with firsthand experience to get feedback from. If you could put in the chat how many times you've been a part of the program. This is our 5th session, and we're so excited to kick things off. So we have a little PowerPointy thing I'm going to pull up here. Welcome, very fancifully, to the Tabletop Mentorship Program Orientation 2020. And this came directly as a response to feedback from previous people in the program. So thank you so much to everybody who said it feels like you're throwing us to the wolves. We want to make it feel a little less intimidating this time around. So that's the same kind of basic info we said at the beginning. This is kind of an intro to why we do this. We just want to expand the knowledge, skills, and experiences of the industry through our mentorship program. These are 1-to-1 3-month mentorships. There are other mentorships in the community run by other wonderful folks. One thing that makes us special is we are interdisciplinary. So you will see in the comments or just in interacting with people from the program, there are not only game designers here, though there are a lot of game designers. We have a lot of folks from the RPG world. We have a lot of artists, graphic designers, publishers, distributors. Last session, we had some translators. So anybody working with games in any respect is welcome as part of this program.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole goal is just to provide a way for people to a different opportunity to grow in the industry. I mean, as you can see on the slide, there's so many resources out there for making games, but not a ton of resources for the sort of one-on-one mentorships that can be real game changers for people. I know for me personally, that's the whole reason I started this program, is because I had a few mentors when I started out that gave me a huge shortcut into everything I know now, basically. And I really wanted a way to give that to as many people as possible. So that's why I started this program. That's why we're running this program. We hope that you'll learn something, you'll grow. And, as one former mentee put it, the worst that can happen is that your network will grow by 1. So still pretty good.
So today we're just going to talk a little bit about how this session will work. We have some new exciting things as part of the mentorship program this session, and we're super excited to share those with you. We're going to share some advice shared by previous members of the program. We're going to talk a bit about goal setting, which is one of the most important keys to the program, and then we will have our special guests. So we're going to kick things off by talking about meeting with your partner. If anybody has had a meeting with their partner already, I know most people have made contact, but you probably haven't had time to have a meeting yet. But if you have, how did it go? Let us know in the chat. Of course, you meet twice a month, and each meeting should last at least 30 minutes. You are welcome to go longer or meet more frequently. We had a lot of people last session, maybe because of the pandemic, who met weekly, which was really exciting. It's about what's comfortable for you and your mentor. If you're a mentee, do remember your mentor may have more than one mentee that they are juggling schedules for. So just make sure that you're open and flexible. If you can do voice or video chat, whatever you're comfortable with, we just know that text-based communication can sometimes allow you to be a little distracted. And again, that's not for everyone. We know there are people for accessibility reasons who primarily communicate through text, and that's great as well. But if you are comfortable with it and able, we do recommend at least a voice chat so that you have that personal connection to it and you know you have each other's undivided attention. For your first meeting, you want to get to know each other a little bit. It can be a little awkward to break the ice, but you're just meeting someone. It's like you went up to them at a convention or you sat down at the same table together. You just want to know a little bit about their life and interests, their experience, why they're a part of this program. And then you want to talk about projects and goals, which we'll go into a little more in a little bit. And in your applications, for the first time this session, we asked about your preferred mentoring style. So you can ask each other about that. Mentors, that's a great way to find out how your mentee would like to be helped or would like to communicate. Are they looking for a cheerleader or are they looking for a challenger? What kind of energy are they hoping you'll bring to the table? And then hopefully you guys can find some common ground together. Anything you want to add there?
Nope, you crushed it.
Okay, great. Cool. So some key mentoring skills. The first one is really the biggest one. And you may have seen this little breakdown in some of the information we sent in your welcome packet. Listening actively on both ends of the relationship is so key. Oftentimes, people are just looking to be listened to way more than they're looking for advice. And while we are thrilled at the amount of experience that this community has, being able to tell the difference between when to offer that advice and when just to listen and respond to the questions that are being asked or the frustrations that are being voiced. Often people are just looking for confirmation that they're on the right track or that their projects are worth pursuing, and they don't always need specific answers. So listening actively is, I think, the biggest element of this mentorship. And if that's the only thing you're able to bring to the table, you have brought so much. It's such a valuable skill to be able to listen to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And knowing when to guide your mentee toward the right answer builds on that. If you're listening and they have a specific question that has a very specific answer, and you have the skills and experience to answer that, by all means. But sometimes it's more helpful to ask questions in a way that lets them arrive at that answer themselves, or if they're looking for, they're struggling with some aspect of their project and there's, 5-6 different ways that they can approach it. Maybe try to figure out what the best way is for them rather than, sort of letting them know what exactly worked for you and that's the only way that it can be done, right? It's a partnership here, and everybody is different, and just recognizing that is part of this.
Yeah. And sharing your experiences is such a good way to communicate, and it is a huge part of step number 2, which is building trust. As you get to know each other, you're going to naturally, we hope, build rapport. That tends to come along in the journey. It may not happen immediately, but as you get to know each other and understand each other better, that trust will naturally come, and it will be easier to share ideas between you. Remember, on both sides, it can be hard to hear feedback sometimes, especially if you are up against a problem or there's a solution to your problem that you didn't expect or that you don't necessarily love, right? If you've done any play testing, for example, you know how difficult it can be to intake that feedback from people. So keep an open mind. Know that the trust will come if you just keep openly communicating with each other. And if you do have any problems where you think you really aren't connecting, try and find a new approach to it, take a break, focus back on those goals and come back to the ways that you were brought together in the first place, right? Our goal here is to make as many good matches as we can. And if you're a mentee, know that your mentor had a hand most likely in selecting you. They chose your project because they were interested in you, and we matched you because we thought that you would be a good pair together. And so while not everything turns out as amazing as we hope, we're seeing in the chat that some people have had great first meetings, and that's so wonderful to hear. And I hope for those of you who are just getting started that it goes just as well. You're going to determine your goals. That is a huge part of this process, and we're going to do a little bit of discussion on goal setting later, but as you check in with each other, I would say at the beginning of every meeting, maybe not the first thing you do, but as part of that, make sure you check in on what progress has been made since the last meeting. You can have qualitative or quantitative goals, which are simple measurable things like I wanted to play test my game once before my next meeting. Did I or did I not do that? Or I wanted to feel more confident with my art. Do I feel more or less confident? So check in with yourself before you go into that meeting and then have that discussion. And it's okay if you didn't make what you think is positive progress. There is a lot going on. 2 weeks goes by really fast. You may not always finish your homework or check off the things that you were hoping to, but that's okay. You're coming back to that meeting with an intention that you're going to continue to work forward and that those goals are still there waiting for you.
And that's 100% part of the process. If you're worried like, oh, my meeting is tomorrow and I have nothing to talk about, that's exactly something to talk about. Why don't you have anything to talk about? And what kind of the way, what can your mentor help you with? Absolutely. It's totally valid.
Yeah. And then the final note there is that you want it to be an encouraging and an inspiring experience. Being positive and putting good energy into the relationship is going to make such a difference. Even if your mentor is looking for someone to challenge them, they're still looking to be challenged in a positive way. They still want to be encouraged to keep going on the journey. And if you ever see that your partner is discouraged, again, on either side of the relationship, if they're having a hard time committing to this, try and figure out why. We've gotten feedback from people in the past. This can be a lot of pressure for people. For some people, they can show up at a meeting with little to no preparation. Obviously, they've prepared mentally, but they can just show up and they're good to go. Someone like me, I get very anxious a lot. We were stressing, putting all of this together. And it was worth checking in, why am I being so negative right now? Why am I feeling so discouraged? And how can we fix that? How can we clear those hurdles to move forward in a more positive framework? Because you don't make great progress if you're feeling terrible. So whenever you can, try and focus on the good and use that as a way to challenge yourself to make even more good things. So staying safe and healthy in your mentorship relationship. This is a professional relationship. You might make an amazing friend here, but there is still a bit of a power imbalance here. You have a person assigned to be a mentor and a person assigned to be a mentee. So we do have a code of conduct. You did agree to it when you joined the program, but if you didn't have a chance to read through it fully, it is on our website in the About Us section. So you can go back in there. Mike is going to drop that link in the chat. In that code of conduct, you will also see a section on anonymous reporting. That is new for this session. If you at any point in time feel unsafe, unhealthy, or uncomfortable with your relationship with your mentor, or if something happens in the Discord or on Twitter that you don't feel comfortable with, this is a way for you to anonymously share those concerns with us. There's no input of name or anything. You can click through the form and just see what it's like if you're curious. So if you have trouble at any time, we want you to let us know. We want this to be a safe place for everyone. And because we are not in your mentorship with you, we can't know if you don't tell us. So even if it's just to let us know that there may be a problem on the horizon, keep us in the loop. We want to make sure things stay good as much as possible. And if you're not worried about anonymity, you're welcome to email us at any time. tabletopmentorshipprogram@gmail.com will always find us. Those are read by the both of us for the most part. If you interact with us on Twitter, most likely you'll be talking to me. And if you're on Discord, you'll be talking with Mike. So we kind of move in our own little areas there. But again, if you have any trouble at any time, just reach out to us. We want to make sure that you have a good time. Similarly, on the thread of staying safe and healthy, on our website, we do have a page that is creator resources. And one of the sections there is for mental health resources. Mike's going to drop that link in there as well. So there are a couple of different websites that can help you with mental health support should you need it. This can feel like a lot of pressure. This can be a big emotional journey for you. And if you ever need help, there are all sorts of hotlines and things out there. The one we've chosen to highlight in the PowerPoint right now is the Games and Online Harassment Hotline. It is technically designed with video game folks in mind, but games are games across the spectrum. And if you're having trouble with this program or with anything related to your life online or your life as a gamer, there are different support networks that you can reach out to. So this is a text-based platform for those of you in the United States. But again, there are other resources on our website from the US and Australia and possibly the UK as well. So all sorts of videos and hotlines and things to connect you. Please just check those out at your convenience. So this is just going to be a real quick rundown of some things that we have coming up in this program. Obviously, you have your mentor or your mentee, but this time we have some exciting things like the speaker series presented in collaboration with the Tabletop Network and New Voices in Gaming. Huge thank you to Tim Fowers and Jeff Engelstein for helping sponsor this and helping us get this off the ground. We wanted to do this last session, and we're so thrilled it's finally happening.
Absolutely, yeah. So these will be starting on the 27th, I believe. It'll be basically every other Sunday. We're going to have a live streamed speaker who will come in for this session to talk about an aspect of tabletop. So we're starting off with a broad overview, and then we'll talk about publishing, pitching, art, game design, all kinds of stuff that I think will be really useful to everybody in the program. And you can see the guests we've lined up are pretty awesome. Some former members of the program, which is really great, and some new people who we're just getting into this. So yeah, we're really excited about this. This is going to be really fantastic. So like I said, the first one is Sunday, September 27th. It'll be 11 a.m. EDT. And Matt Fantastic, who, if you don't know, is incredible and has done basically everything in the industry. And so they're going to give an overview of the tabletop industry, the life of a game, how it goes from idea to store shelves to being your family's favorite game to play. And I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be really fantastic. Oh, pun not intended.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
We also have roundtable discussions coming up if you want to put October 17th and 18th on your calendar. We have a ton of mentors from the program who have volunteered to lead a roundtable discussion where basically you'll just be put in with a small group, you'll sign up in advance, and they'll facilitate a discussion between all of you. It'll be very casual and informal, where you can just learn more about a very specific aspect of the industry. And that's going to be really amazing. We're very excited for it. We also have micro grants. They're always open for underrepresented creators in the community. Micro grants are not limited to people in this program, but we just wanted to make sure you were aware that they exist. So again, you can find that on our website. Now we're going to jump into some advice from previous mentees and mentors. So if you're looking for some direction on what people felt at the end of their program, we asked them what they would say to people who had just started out in the mentorship program. Make a schedule and stick to it is such a good piece of advice, whether that is a schedule for meetings or a schedule for the work that you're hoping to focus on. Schedules can be so powerful. Try and learn as much as possible, and don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. It can be really intimidating to start these projects, but you're going to learn and grow so much. And the more you step out of your comfort zone, again, don't push yourself too hard, but taking that step forward is going to introduce you to all sorts of new opportunities and new ideas. And for a lot of you, just signing up for this program may have been a step out of your comfort zone. So well done. We're super proud of you. Set realistic goals and work regularly toward them. And a huge part of realistic goals is recognizing that they change. It's okay if you started your mentorship with a goal that switches partway through. That's totally fine. This is just a great quote from one of those feedback forms. Take your time developing your goals. Be super critical and detailed on specific actions to accomplish one or more goals during the 3-month process. Remember to be flexible and give grace when it is needed, but remain focused on each step until the goal is achieved. Ask for help always and be humble and honest throughout the mentorship, and you will do really well. And the number one piece of advice we got from mentees was don't be afraid to ask questions. Your mentor is there to help you. They signed up for this program because they want to help people out and they want to make a connection. So ask them your questions. You have full permission. From mentors. Figure out what your mentee needs, not what you think they need. There can be a difference there. There usually is. So active listening and asking questions will help you figure out what they're really looking for, even if that changes moment to moment. Be prepared for how much work it is. how exhausting it can be, and how much of it is emotional work. Your relationship with each mentee is going to vary. What they're looking for and what you're willing to offer is going to vary. So make sure that you're checking in with yourself, that you feel comfortable, that you can handle this. And if you, again, need to take a break, if you need to check in with yourself on a way to do this in a more healthy fashion, go for it. Keep your mind open, ask questions, and never assume anything. Remember to give advice and guidance, but not do things for them directly. Provide those resources, but not finished products. Connect them to people you know. People also work at their own pace and follow the thing most interesting to them. Don't be disappointed if they decided to take a long weekend with family instead of making a sell sheet, but do reschedule meetings if there's nothing to discuss yet. Again, flexibility is powerful. And our favorite advice for mentors is believe in yourself. A lot of people give us feedback at the end of the program that they felt more confident in their work as a graphic designer or as a mentor or in any aspect of their life after having been a mentor in this program. That confidence boost is a powerful thing. And hopefully you will be able to put a little of that imposter syndrome to bed and feel really capable because you're doing an amazing thing here. So just a quick chat on setting effective goals. You want to make sure you're thinking about what's achievable in 3 months. And you want to think about this as a mentee and as a mentor, because you want to be sure that you're both working towards the same set of goals here, right? As a mentor, if you misunderstand what your mentee is going for, that can create some challenges. So when you're figuring out those goals, be as specific as possible. We encourage you to write it down somewhere and track it. We do have on our website a form. It's just a very simple worksheet where you can kind of put it in. And I think one of our previous members will talk a bit about how they were able to track their progress over the course of the program. And again, just being flexible, understanding that things will change. All progress is good progress. So even if you didn't meet your goal by the end of the program, make sure you take a moment to reflect on what you did achieve, because you will have achieved something, even if it was just, again, expanding your network by one awesome person and challenging yourself to take this program on. We'll swap that. Cool. No, you want to do it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So this is just a real quick goal setting exercise. Give yourself a break from just listening to me talk. If you want to pull up a document or pull out a notebook, I want you to think of one goal you have for this session and write it down. Even if you're a mentor, think of something that you want to achieve yourself this session, whether that is to build your confidence or to support your mentee in a very specific way. Think of one goal that you'd like to have. I'm just going to give you a minute of quiet here to think of a goal and write it down. Once you've settled on that goal, try and imagine 3 things you can do to support it. Again, be really specific and write those down. Then go ahead and try and consider 3 challenges that might slow you down or provide hurdles against achieving that goal. Write those down as well. Think about how you might work to surpass them and write those down as well. So right now we are writing down challenges that might slow you down in achieving your goal and imagining how you might surpass those challenges, what you can do to set yourself up for success. Awesome. So hopefully you've had a chance to at least think through some of that. And if it's an exercise that you want to come back to and finish later, of course, you're welcome to do that. One of the things we talk about in the goal setting blog is attaching a way to measure your goal. So even if it's something about how you feel, you can check in with yourself before a session or a meeting and say, I wanted to feel more confident in my ability to communicate. Last time I said I was at a 4 out of 10. How do I feel now? And then you can check in with yourself that way. So it's a great way to be able to measure even something that feels unmeasurable. Feel free to check in with that goal throughout the course of your mentorship and see how it works out for you. And again, if you're looking for worksheets to be able to do that sort of thing for multiple goals, we encourage you to write out each goal separately so that you can keep yourself accountable to each specific one. And those worksheets, again, we can post the link in the chat. But for right now, we are excited to have some very special guests, some previous members of the program who are very nice and very exciting. And we're so excited to let them share their experience and their wisdom with you. So we'd like you to meet Miriam and James.
I'm not there yet. Hello. Hi.
Hello. Oh, I'm dark. Let's see if I can fix that. Yeah, that's a little better.
Yay, awesome. Welcome. Welcome. How are you all?
Yeah, good, thank you. Having a lazy Sunday.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So just to give a bit
one
of an
side, water on the other.
There you go.
Armed and ready.
James was a mentor in our first program and has done it a couple times since then, or once more since then.
Yeah.
So multiple Grammy Award-winning mentor. And Miriam was a mentee in our last session. We're so happy to have her here to talk about her experience. But let's kick it off with James. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about your, sort of tabletop history and how you got involved with the program and what it was like and any advice you might have for our mentors.
Yeah, sure. So I'm James. Hello. I'm one half of Needy Cat Games. We're a small studio in Nottingham in the UK. And I've been a professional game designer for 7 or 8 years now, I think, full-time for about the last 6 of that. I was working for Games Workshop in their design studio, designing things for them. And then in 2017, went freelance, set up Needy Cat Games, and haven't had many days off since then. So yeah, as Needy Cat, we design games for clients. We also do game design courses. We run a networking group in Nottingham for people in the games industry. Although now it's gone further afield since lockdown began, and meeting up in person isn't such a big thing anymore. We also run a podcast called Finding Games, which, funnily enough, Grace and Mike recorded an episode of recently, so they'll be appearing on one very soon. And yeah, I've been involved in the mentorship course, as Mike says, since pretty much the first one. We were just trying to figure out when it was. I think it was the first one. I remember filling in my application form over lunch at UK Games Expo because I'd just seen it on Twitter and I was like, oh yeah, I can just about get in. That sounds really cool. I've always loved the idea of helping people find their feet in whatever it is they're doing. And it's something that I've come back to quite a few times in my career. And now with this, tabletop games, the industry where it is now, I'm finding more and more opportunities to do that. And so this felt like a really nice opportunity to do it. And the first time it happened, I know that there was a very, I'm sure Mike can confirm the details, but as I recall, there was a very large imbalance in the number of mentors and mentees. So I took on 2 mentees, and it was really good fun. It wasn't quite what I'd been expecting. I don't know what I was expecting, but I didn't expect to learn quite as much as I did as a mentor. And then I found that again when I did it the most recent one that finished a few weeks ago now. I took on just the 1 mentee this time because I've been quite busy over the past couple of months. But again, learned a lot myself. So yeah, I suppose the first kind of thing I would say is you're going to love this. It's a fantastic opportunity to do things, to learn things about the games industry, working in different corners of the games industry, but also to speak, as they've both said, speak to other people who are in the same boat, who are going through the course. There's the Discord server, which is just constantly bubbling with chat. Finding peers in either the same parts of the industry that you're working in or in different parts is so useful. One of the big things we always tell people who are getting into the games industry is find people who are getting started out as well and kind of run parallel to them, because you'll have questions and things you can help out with each other. I draw a weird parallel. We've got a 5-year-old daughter. When we first had her, we were told, make some friends with parents who are the same sort of stage as you, because you need someone to be able to phone at 3 in the morning when you don't know what's going on, you're covered in poop, and you just want to cry. Now hopefully the being covered in poop thing doesn't happen so much in the games industry, but I still think it's a really good point. But yeah, so that's, like I said, the tips I would give to people, as I said, if you're a mentor, be open to learning things. It's a two-way street. As Mike and Grace said in the talk, it's not a balanced dynamic. There is definitely a differential. There's the mentor-mentee relationship, but it is still a two-way street. You'll both have experiences that you can draw on, and if nothing else, you'll get a different perspective on things. In the first go at this, when I had 2 mentees, they had both had such different experiences to me coming into the industry, actually, and all 3 of my mentees have had that. What it meant was that I got such a different perspective, and I've been able to use what I learned from that to help out other people since. Because, for example, Danielle, who was one of my mentees, who actually I think was a mentor in the most recent one, so she's had a lovely progression there. She was in the process of pitching lots of games to publishers, which is a thing I'd not really done, because I kind of came into this from a weird angle. I've always worked for clients where there's an established agreement up front about the game I'm designing, whereas Danielle was going through the process of designing games and then pitching them to publishers, which I had no personal experience of. And that became a thing which fed into the information we give out in game design courses and just generally to people we know in the industry. So yeah, make sure you are open and willing to draw on each other's experiences, and not just as a mentor, dictate your glorious wisdom, because I'm sure that you as a mentor are very qualified, and you will have a lot of things to give, and just the fact that you're stepping up to be a mentor means that you're going to have a load of good stuff to talk about, but do be willing to take information on board as well. I scribbled down a little list of other things, like top tips. One that I find really helpful is set a regular time and stick to it. Obviously not always possible, but if you can, saying we're going to meet every 2 weeks on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock or something, it's just a good way to make sure you don't slip. I know part of the course, as you sign up for it, is you're committing to a certain number of sessions, and just saying we're going to do it on these particular dates, these particular times, is a great way to make sure that happens. Be good at note taking. It's very easy to just kind of get lost in having a chat and enjoying yourself, and if you're doing that, that's fantastic. That means it's going really well, but don't forget to write things down. As a mentor, I would kind of keep scribbled notes on a notepad during the chat, and not just on things like important action points, but notes on anything that was worth remembering. So I've got a memory like a sieve, so I would write down things like the names of partners, how old kids are, anything that I might have to bring up later in conversation. Oh, how's so-and-so doing at school? Because they've started back at school, whatever it is. If I've written that down, I'm not having anxiety later about, oh no, did they have a kid? Was there something? But yeah, also, of course, write down things that they talk about wanting to do, things that they say they might need help with. Keep those notes, and then at the end of it, write them up nice and neatly. Spend 5 minutes after the session. This goes for both mentors and mentees. Writing your notes down. Write down the things that you're planning to do before next time. Write them things that you hadn't thought of. I would always do an email at the end of a session to my mentee. Certainly, most recently, I think I did this as well in the first run, with any useful links that I'd said about. I'll go check this thing out, read this article, go look at this document, and I would also have a summary of action plans, action points. I do understand that Mike and Grace have provided some awesome worksheet form things. I'm bad at this and I didn't realize, so I just started using Google Docs. But find whatever works for you and use that. And yeah, I did mention action points. I think it is really important at the end of a session to kind of agree, or in fact, not even at the end, but during the session, agree some things that you can look up, work on for next time. And that can actually go both ways. So not just the mentor setting work for the mentee, so to speak, because it's not homework. It's not that kind of relationship necessarily. But it could, for example, be the mentor saying, right, before next time, I'm going to look up some things on this, or I'm going to find you some contacts for these particular things, and I'll email those over to you. But whatever the case, agree on some points. And again, it's a two-way street. Make sure it's a discussion. Agree some things to be done before next session. So we often have things like my last mentee, Jess, would say she was going to do get her prototype on Tabletop Simulator and try to run a playtest session. That was it. The important thing is, as I say, it's not homework. If you haven't done it, don't do your homework on the bus and try to fake it. Just be honest. Honesty, I think, is going to be one of your top tools in this. The best way to get something out of this relationship is to be honest with each other. And if you haven't had time, talk about it. If you've had time, but you still haven't done it, talk about it. I mean, what can be more valid as a discussion between a mentor and a mentee than, I just haven't done it. I haven't had the inspiration. How do I get past that? This is the nature of what this is all about. So, as I say, honesty is such a good thing, and hopefully you will feel comfortable in that kind of honest discussion. I think I've rambled for quite a few minutes now, but hopefully that there's some useful stuff in there. I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll stick around for a bit, and if you can't ask me questions now, you can jump to me on Discord. Oh, there's a comments popped up. It's like magic. What was the podcast again? The podcast is called Finding Games. I will drop some links in the comments box if you like, but it's called Finding Games by Needy Cat Games. You can find it on most podcast apps. Sorry, not Spotify because they have standards, but Podbean, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, iTunes, and basically it's Sophie, the other half of Needy Cat Games, interviewing people in the games industry or around the games industry, and kind of talking about their journey into it all. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I'm done. I think I have no idea. Yay, people are still here. Fantastic. I was on my own there. I had no idea.
That was wonderful advice.
Yes, thank you, James.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Yeah, and just so everyone knows, we're going to be putting up a link to this. It's going to be archived on YouTube. So if you missed anything, you can go back and listen to it again. I mean, that was chock full of wonderful information.
So many good tips.
Yeah. Gosh, I was trying to remember if what did you say before? Oh yes, you mentioned earlier, like the first session, like the imbalance of mentors and mentees was wild. Yes, it was. It kind of always is. Though I will note that this session has the smallest gap as far as that ratio is concerned. So we're really happy about that. So it seems like
are you getting more mentors coming back or mentees coming back as mentors? Is that thing that's happening gradually? Are you fueling your own fire, so to speak?
Yes. Yeah. No. Absolutely, we are. You mentioned Danielle. Being a mentee and then a mentor, and that is that's the exact success you want for this program. Is that you inspire them and empower them, and they become confident. And I mean, you mentioned Danielle needed some help with pitching. That's almost hilarious to think about now because Danielle is like a pitching machine.
She didn't need help. She just needed confidence, and that was it. And yeah, we got there.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. I mean, and yeah, you got to be proud about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's wonderful. Okay, cool. I don't see any more questions. So we're going to move on to Miriam. Hi, Miriam.
Hey.
So like I said before, Miriam was a mentee in our last session and absolutely crushed it. And she's going to speak about sort of where she's at, what kind of roles she's involved in tabletop, and what you're, talk about what your mentee experience was, what you learned. I know we talked a little bit before, and you had some fantastic sort of preparation materials that you did that I would highly recommend to everybody. So, but yeah, we'll let you take it away.
Great. So I'm Miriam Sheeher. I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, 2D artist. I've worked in a whole bunch of different industries, though my main thing has been video games off and on for the last 10 years or so. I also have another career as a circus performer, which is fun times. I came into this because I want to move over and focus on my illustration work instead of solely on graphic design. So I'm wanting to get into the industry as a board game illustrator and artist. So that's why I signed up. I actually saw the stuff about the program on Twitter back in like December or January last year, but I missed that cycle. So I was waiting and ready to sign up for the next cycle. So I got matched with Bridget Indelicato, who apparently I can't say her name fast. She is a board game graphic designer and does some art direction as well. And she was absolutely wonderful. I went into this with a few different goals and a few different things. I've done mentorship stuff before as a mentee and felt like I've botched it sometimes in the past. So I really wanted to come into this to be ready to actually make the most of this and make connections and make friends. I definitely wanted to make a friend with a mentor and not just a connection. So they mentioned my preparation. That would be this right here. This is what I went into my first meeting with, and it's basically going through and figuring out my overall plans for the mentorship program. What did I want to achieve? And that wasn't just for me going into it. I wanted to make a portfolio. I wanted to go in and make a completely new portfolio from scratch, geared specifically towards board games. I wanted to know what I was making. I wanted to have specific plans for all the pieces. And by the end of the program, I wanted to have at least 2 pieces done. This gave me something quantitative that I could focus on and not get to the end of the program and be like, well, I didn't do anything and I don't know what I'm doing from here on out. I wanted to have a plan. The next item I focused on was, what do I need? And for me, from past experiences, that was things like accountability, encouragement. I need a cheerleader. I don't need a drill sergeant. Drill sergeants just make me anxious. But I also, ideas, advice, brainstorming, information on the industry and what sorts of things were important for that, feedback on pieces as I made them. The next thing I focused on was kind of more logistics. How are we going to meet and connect? What are boundaries? James had a great comment there about meeting regularly, which was great. That's actually what my mentor and I did. We scheduled every other Friday at 3 p.m. and it worked really well. And when we needed to reschedule, it gave us kind of a structure to work in. So that was great. I also, brought up the fact that I came into this going, friends, and Bridget was open to that. And so we also, were like, hey, let's also talk casually. And so we sent each other memes and cat photos, as you do. So we talked about that. We talked about how we were going to communicate as well. Bridget has a Slack, and so we set up a Slack channel. And that's both where we discussed things, where we chatted casually, and where we put up and kept the action items. As James said, we did that. And that we'd plan ahead throughout the mentorship program and kind of set large goals and then kind of revisit those each meeting to kind of discuss and figure out, is that realistic? Is that something we can meet? Is that not? And the last thing that I looked at before going into the program, which was really important for me, was what's my current struggle? And this isn't necessarily just my current struggle in achieving my goal of creating that portfolio, but my current struggle of mine was I have a hard time taking general advice, which is not difficult to find, but I have a hard time taking that general advice and applying it to me specifically. There's just so many options and so many routes. So that's some of the guidance that I specifically needed in order to overcome that struggle. That is to say that this was not the struggle that I ended up actually having. After my first meeting, a couple days after, I started having wrist pain, which any of you that are artists know that that's no bueno and no fun, and means that you need to take care of your baby so you can keep drawing. That meant that I could not be drawing throughout the program, which kind of scrapped the I'm going to create a portfolio from scratch in new pieces. So we had to pivot. And Bridget did a wonderful job of kind of helping guide me through that pivot and helping me figure out what it was I could still do while I was unable to draw. Words, they're hard. So what I ended up doing was I ended up looking at what I already had in my portfolio across all of my fields and revamping my illustration portfolio based on that stuff, either making adjustments to things that already existed, moving things around, refining my portfolio to be something that board game companies and art directors could look at and go, oh yeah, this is applicable to board games. That included taking some things out of context. So I had spot illustrations or characters. That included creating a mock-up and using some of my video game portfolio art to make it look like it was made for board game tiles and like printed on board game tiles. Thank you, Splendor, for your wonderful tiles that I photographed. So I did a lot of that. I also did a lot of, okay, let's look up a whole bunch of board game companies and let's look up a bunch of board game artists whose portfolios I like and whose, to get a sense of what the portfolio needed to look like, that kind of thing. Bridget also pushed me, and I didn't think I was going to be ready to contact anybody by the end of the session, let alone have my website set and ready and portfolio ready for sending out by the end of the session. But because of Bridget and because she pushed me to have confidence and keep going and actually put myself out there, my website was my illustration portfolio was revamped. Oh gosh, about halfway through, and I was contacting companies in the last month. So by the end of the session, I had contacted 39 different companies, which is a lot. And I've heard back from 13 of them. So that's a third response, which is pretty darn good. So I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, what I learned about being a mentee, I'm looking at my other notes here. What I learned about being a mentee, a lot of it is listening. A lot of it is letting your mentor give you thoughts and ideas that you didn't think you'd be ready for or didn't think were going to apply to you. Being open to those suggestions is very important. And like some of those comments that were posted earlier, just be kind to yourself. Life happens, and sometimes you're not ready. Sometimes you just have to meet with your mentor and talk about what happened, what didn't happen, and let yourself be okay with the fact that you didn't meet your deadline, or that you couldn't do what you wanted to do. Figure out a solution and tackle it from a new direction. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the main bits I had. My turn to be like, are you still there? There we go.
That's It's awesome. You had such an interesting experience. It was so cool to kind of hear about your journey at the end of it there, because it's such a good example of the way you can kind of pivot and still accomplish something incredible that you maybe didn't know was possible or you didn't think you were ready for. And like 39 companies, that's so many.
That was a lot. It was 10 companies by the end of July. And then literally the day before I met my mentor for the last meeting, like for our very last meeting, I sent out the last like 20 something. And that was part of my cycle was, okay, I'm doing good. And sometimes I'd be on the ball and like get everything done the day before and then have to like set up a new goal with Bridget for the next meeting because I'd already done it and I still had 2 weeks. But then there were most of the other meetings where it was like, okay, tomorrow's my meeting with Bridget. I haven't done anything. I guess I have to do it today. But for me, that kind of deadline also meant that I did it. And I like for myself, I referred to it as homework and deadlines because that helped me. And that's the terminology that I needed in order to be able to, get my butt in gear and actually do it.
Yeah. If people have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. We have a little lag here. So I want to go ahead and just encourage people to put questions here. If you have a question specifically for James or Miriam or for myself or Mike, go ahead and specify that. We'd love to answer anything you have. And then I had a follow-up point to what you just said, and I think I've lost it while trying to give people instructions. Just the flexibility of the program. We have heard from people, this can all be very overwhelming. We have a lot of resources available. We throw a lot of ideas at you. We do not expect that you do all of the things. You do not have to be on Twitter with us and in the Discord participating actively and at the Discord socials and at every speaker series thing. They're just options. So if you're the kind of person who likes filling out a goal worksheet or writing down a beautiful list of all the things you want to achieve, then do that. And if you're the kind of person who works better by talking through your things, and the most common bit of feedback we get on our exit surveys is thank you so much for sending biweekly emails. I never read them. So,
I think it's a really good point though. I mean,
put a lot of stuff out there.
Sorry. Yeah. I was going to say, from my point of view, something that in the past always kind of stopped me on things like this and held me back a bit was if I'm not doing it all, I'm wasting my time. And I would give up or fall out of things. Dropped out of university twice for exactly that reason. And it was very much like, no, just by being here and taking part in some of it, you are going to learn things. It's going to be a worthwhile experience. So yeah, I absolutely would echo that. Don't feel like because you're not doing every single thing. I mean, I'm sure some people out there are doing every single thing, and I envy those people. I don't have the mental capacity for it, but I would love to do everything. But you can get involved in just the Discord or just Twitter or just your meetings, and that's fine. And you will get loads out of it, I guarantee.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's important to remember as we are introducing a lot of new things, like the speaker series, like the roundtables, But absolutely. I mean, at least for the speaker series, like this, I know we had a couple of questions in the chat about, is this going to be archived? Yep. Anything that we stream on YouTube will just live on YouTube forever. As long as that lasts.
It may not have the comment section.
Okay. I didn't know that, but okay. So maybe it doesn't have the comments, but we're trying to respond to them as they come up. So if they're useful, we'll mention them here. And we did have a lot of people, I'll say, at the beginning say that they're first timers. So that's awesome. Welcome.
We're so glad you're here.
Yeah. Well, that's going to happen. But yeah.
Can I just quickly say, just on behalf of everyone, you two have done an amazing job setting this up. This is an incredible program. So
yes, thank you so much.
Oh, our pleasure. I mean, you're why we're here. You're why this exists. So
this couldn't run without all of the people that are part of it.
Absolutely. So. And we do have a question here from Jonathan. Is there a concrete end product that mentors should be preparing for, like written documentation?
Not for us.
No.
But if it's something that is useful for you or your mentee, then sure. But we will not ask you to prove anything. At the end, we send an exit survey that just asks you about your experience. It's optional if you want to put it out there. Do you two have anything to speak to that on? James, did you do any written documentation at the end of yours?
Yeah, written paperwork. My number one thing I'm good at. No, I did. As I say, I did like a weekly or a bi-weekly email to Jess with like links and just covering the things we talked about, but nothing. I didn't look at like a big final end document. It sounds like the kind of thing that I would think was a great idea and intend to do it, and then panic and run out of time and stress. So I think if it's something that is achievable for you, it's a great thing, but you don't need to have anything written down. The process is more important than the destination, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, Miriam, you probably had a thesis by the end of it based on your preparation for the program.
My thesis was that exit survey that you guys got, cool. But also you saw my like entrance thing. My application was also basically an essay. So I'm wordy. It happens.
Yeah, I will say we don't have any kind of like what do I want to say here? Someone once asked about like, hey, can I get like a seal that I completed the program or something like that, or a badge? And we talked about it and we were like, that's not the point. Like James says, like it's not about like where you ended up or, if you only made it halfway, if you only did the month and a half and something happened, life got in the way, and you had to stop, especially, when the pandemic happened. That was a pretty common occurrence in the first session of this year. So there's no graduation. There's no marked end goal. It's really just what you got out of it. You're going to define your own success. We're not going to do that for you. So we feel that's pretty important to the idea of the program.
Yeah. And a lot of times too, when people finish the program, when we wrap up at the end of 3 months, they continue their relationships, whether it's we're going to continue the same mentorship style or whether a lot of people go to a more casual, I'm here if you need me, let's check in on each other often. So this doesn't have to end just because the program says it ends either. You have full freedom to do whatever you want, Yeah.
Miriam, we have a question for you here from Peter. What was one of the most helpful pieces of resources that you received during your menteeship?
That is a very good question. So I think the thing that was actually most useful for me that I got from Bridget and otherwise was actually the push to put myself out there. And that's not just sending cold call emails to board game companies. That's also put myself out there to meet other people in the industry, put myself out there to talk to people, to make friends. Bridget had another mentee as well who we ended up talking, and she and I basically ended up comparing our own like board game publisher and company lists and giving each other information back and forth, comparing contact information, that kind of thing. And that was incredibly helpful, even just to like make another friend and someone else to like, hey, this is a really cool thing I just found, sort of thing. So I'm going to be really cliche and say that the most helpful piece of advice that I got out of this mentorship was the real treasure is the friends you make along the way.
I love it. That's wonderful.
Yes, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, last chance for questions. If anybody has any, we will happily throw them up here. But we just want to say thank you so much to James and Miriam.
Yes,
you jumped in without a lot of notice to be a part of this orientation. And it was a delight to have you here and hear your stories. It was so good to get perspective from people who have actually lived the program because, like we said, our experience is so outside of it. It's so administrative. So
yeah, super valuable. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I'll add, I'm on the Discord server generally. So if anyone watches this later and wants to ask a question, just tag me. It's Needy Cat James on there. Tag me, and I'll answer. I'm always happy to answer questions and stuff. It's why everything works.
I'm also on the Discord, so feel free to hit me up if you have questions or anything. So.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you all should have had the invite in your email to the Discord. If for whatever reason you can't get in, just email us. Tabletop Mentorship Program at gmail.com, and we'll help you out there.
Yep. If you have problems at any point, especially if someone stops communicating with you, mentee or mentor, if you're having trouble getting in touch with people, please reach out to us through email. That's the fastest way so that we can check in with them. We have additional points of contact, so we may be able to get in touch with them even if you can't. Did you want to say anything about the Discord socials, or are you good?
Oh, yeah, we did. Was it last session? I think they started.
Last session.
Yeah, great. And Miriam was a huge part of that. We do socials on Discord. I believe it's Saturday night, Sunday morning. Am I getting
Friday
those
night,
days right?
Saturday morning.
Yeah, for the US, it's Friday night, Saturday morning.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Friday night, Saturday morning. We just do socials on the Discord, just a chance to hang out, meet other members of the program, other members of the Discord. We had one of our members, Mark, was running that. We'll have to get in touch with him to see if he wants to keep doing that. But if not, we'll keep it going somehow for sure. But yeah, Friday night, Saturday mornings. And we'll put those times on there in the social channels.
Yeah, we're trying to keep some community vibes here. It can be kind of isolating to just be you and your mentor, you and your mentees. So we're trying to build beautiful hubs, and it's been nice to see the Discord. It's just a flutter with discussion. So even if you're a little Discord wary like I am, join it and check it out. I think that's going to wrap things up for us today. Again, this broadcast will show again. We hope you will join us next Sunday at 11 Eastern Daylight Time. So an hour before this started, whatever your local time is. And Matt Fantastic will be here to talk about the broad overview of the game industry.
And we'll do Q&A at the end as well. So, you can ask them anything you want.
Yep. And we will be posting the full schedule for that speaker series very soon. But you guys have the first look at kind of what we have coming. Thank you again so much. Good luck on your journey. We wish you all the best. And we can't wait to see what you get up to. Feel free to shout us out on Twitter at any time, and we're happy to raise up the work you're doing. Thanks again to James and Miriam. Thank you to Tim and Jeff for helping sponsor the speaker series. Thank you to Adam and
Morgan
for helping pair mentors. If you are paired in an arts, graphic design, or RPG mentorship, they're the ones who helped put that together. And best of luck on the journey. We can't wait to see what you get up to.
Thank you.
Thanks, James. Thanks, Miriam.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Slightly awkward bit where we're all